Hi guys, and welcome back to yet another Wuh Yuh Say Podcast video. I'm here with Terrell and Farhana, and this is actually the very first ever Wuh Yuh Say Podcast that's going to be in person. And I'm yeah, I'm glad to actually have you guys here because I took pictures for you guys just this Saturday at your launch, really and truly, for UReport. And I mean, I got the grasp of it, but I was still trying to focus as much on taking pictures for you guys. Um, so for the listeners and viewers, what is UReport and what's it about?
So thanks for having us, Christian. I mean, the photos came out great, by the way, so we're really happy about that. UReport is a global initiative by UNICEF, and it is a social messaging tool and data collection system that allows us to take the views of young people and share them in a way that is meaningful and will impact change. So it what UReport does is it sends polls to young people's inboxes on social media, and then these polls are uploaded onto the UReport platform, and it shares the views on topics that are important to us. So, for example, we may generate polls on things related to COVID-19 in education or violence in communities. And young persons from throughout Barbados, just simply from going onto their phones, can share their opinions, their ideas, what problems they're facing. And then these issues are then highlighted for everyone to see, and it becomes a tool for us to advocate for change.
Okay, I mean, you guys were really pinpointing about youth and all the changes that need to be made. But I guess Tyrell, for you, and I'll ask both of you, how did I guess I can start with you, Tyrell. How do y'all get into UReport and the whole youth leader stuff? Like, what brought you
I,
here?
I also want to start by saying thanks to the photos as well. Excellent job. But I think that when it comes to youth leadership in Barbados, there's a lot of talk going around. And I see it as well. When we talk about youth leadership, we see the same faces over and over. And I think that it is time, like we tried to do on Saturday, to bring mass numbers of young people together to see each other and see that they're more than just I'm just calling a figure, more than just the 10 faces you see all the time. And show them that leadership is not just about talking, but it's the photography, it is the moderating, the MC, it is every single thing. It's not just about talking on TV. So I think that when we had those 100 youth leaders there today, well, not today, on Saturday, that it really showed everyone that is more to it than what you see. About getting into it, I think that I think that persons in the organization scope people. You just watch them and you scope people. I want him. I want him for my organization. I started in youth parliament back in 2013. I was pretty quiet. I started really arguing and putting forward points and opposing in 2017 or so. And then it was like everybody wanted me to do something. So I think that it's just a matter of getting your voice out there.
Okay, and how did you get into it?
Yeah, so I have worked with primarily the Barbados Association of Muslim Ladies for the past 10 years as a community activist, working on grassroots change. And throughout that journey, it has allowed me to connect with so many different young people and so many different organizations. And then this role came up through UNICEF for project coordinator for UReport, and I took the opportunity to apply for it, and I was successful in then coming and leading the initiative. One of my first tasks was really to put together a steering committee of young people, and that's then how I met Terrell and met the 10 other extraordinary young people who were part of the steering committee. So that's really how I became involved in UReport. But more so, I've always been invested in having the voices of young people, especially marginalized young people. I mean, growing up for me, being a Muslim woman of color who dressed very differently in Barbados, I never felt that I saw people like me represented in decision making or having an opinion or just sharing their voice. And so I connected very passionately with UReport and what it's trying to achieve, because it recognized that you don't, like Terrell said, you don't have to be on a stage. You don't have to have a mic in front of you to speak out. You can do it simply from your bedroom at home and feel that you're making a difference.
I mean, as you just said, you don't need to be in front of stage. You don't need to be in front of a mic. But, I mean, both of you guys were holding a mic and both on stage. So, and along with the 10 other guys, I mean, I know Rhonda. He went to school with me, and he's a part of it now. And if I'm correct, well, I know is that your brother? Tahir? Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm familiar with him through cricket, and obviously he's now doing his own stuff. Now he's still the vice president of the guild and everything. So I guess that's something that you guys like to do, or that's something that you guys are interested in your family, like activism and stuff like that. So how could you move forward, I guess, to encourage more people to come on and speak? Because persons like I'm not gonna say myself, but our age, they don't. It's easy to go and tweet something, but to then come out and say it yourself and be proud of what you've done. How can you go forward to encourage people? Because you have UReport, but how are you gonna get people to join?
Sure.
I guess we can both take it.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Any of you can take it.
So I think this question is kind of twofold in a sense. One is about giving young people the confidence to be able to speak out, and to be able to, be a part of the change that they want to see. And one of the ways that we saw that is recognizing that in every single corner of Barbados, young people are doing exceptional work within their communities. And we wanted this tool is meant to be used by young people. UReport is a tool. So in order to help people recognize this is for you, we needed to have a diverse representation of young people, so that when you see UReport, you're seeing yourself reflected. So as Terrell said, we had over 100 U ambassadors that we sort of launched the UReport among young people, introduce young people to it, and we wanted to do that in the most inclusive way possible. And we saw that through bringing together over 100 youth ambassadors, leaders, activists, influencers, local celebrities, and so on, to come together who have already a platform and saying, hey, listen, this is something for you to use, and this is a tool that you can use. But then further to that is to let persons know that in using this tool, it's simple, it's easy to make your voice heard, and that's what it brings to the table. And ease to be part of the change doesn't necessarily require you to have to schedule commitments away from school, or schedule commitments from your personal or domestic duties. Like, it's easy to be part of this movement for change.
Well, the part of the question I remember specifically is when you ask how do we get more young people on board? How do we get more young people speaking? And I know when you say speaking, you mean literally speaking, and not just voting on the polls. I can answer that question all in one. When you're killing a snake, I know the old people say go for the head, which is why we went for the leaders, which is why we went for Dejano. When you got people like Dejano with all that influence on Twitter, and the kind of crowd that he has, it makes more people than not just the outspoken youth leaders, but those who stick in the shadows, come out then and feel more comfortable. A lot of people hide their good work because they're ashamed. Young people, they're not proud of good work. So I think that the more young people promote good work, promote UReport and what's not, then other young people are like, oh, well, I don't got to be ashamed. Dejano is doing it, Terrell is doing it, Farhana is doing it, everybody's doing it, so let me do it and promote my good work. And that's how we break that gap.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, because there's so many people that would, like, I would see don't have the followers or the influence on other people, but they have the good work, as you said, and they put the work in, but they don't. I don't know if it's that they don't want to put the hustle or something in, like, but they do have that work. And I mean, as you said, like you got Dejano, but there's at that function, there's like Jordan English. You have, I can't remember how many people I really saw. Like there was a room full of influencers, and like if I'm right,
Some of them didn't come either. They were connected online.
oh yeah, yeah, you still were able to manage to reach other people through the Instagram live, and I'm sure you like that had a good set of numbers that were tuning in, and so especially with us as we're younger persons, for the old people that don't really know how to use social media that sort of way, what else can you do to? Because I mean, it is about youth and youth leaders, but we still, as you said, you went for the heads. So how can we go for even more of the heads? Because you were able to get John King is in, and those Minister John King and Minister Colin Jordan. So how can we now reach the head? How can we get to Mia? How could we get all the way there, or even abroad? Because I mean, there's UReport Barbados and there's UReport Jamaica, if I'm correct. But no, that needs to spread more, I guess, to the other Caribbean countries. Trinidad as well. Okay, well then, so how do we really get there?
So UReport is present in 72 countries globally. So Barbados is one of the newest, countries to join and have a UReport function. But like you said, how do we reach people? And that's essentially what UReport is. It's like a bridge between young people and the decision makers in a country. So once we start getting those polls and those sort of results, then we can go and clearly say to a minister with specific portfolios under, like, for example, the polls, say, listen, this is what young people are saying. This is what we need. We can even narrow it down to say, this is what young people in St. James are saying. This is what young people in Christchurch are saying. And this is the inequalities that exist between the two. How can we fix that? And then on top of that, we can say, listen, we have a cohort of 80 youth organizations on board with this already. Let's see how we can partner and further this. So it's not us working in silos anymore, but it's finding, bridging those gaps, like Terrell said, between different issues and people working on those issues.
In terms of reaching people, as you said, we've reached John King, we've reached Minister Jordan. Minister Sutherland is fully on board and very supportive. And as Farhana said, I wanted to make this point on stage on Saturday too, but the stage fright. When Cynthia Bradshaw, Honorable Cynthia Bradshaw, saw Khalil and the other students protesting for CSE, I'm pretty sure she didn't ask Khalil, were they angry? No, she wanted statistics, right? And this is what UReport is, statistics. So you don't have to ask any more questions. 95% of the people who did the CSE weren't satisfied with their grades. There's no more talk about a lot of people were in town marching. No, we don't want to hear that. We want stats. And this is how we reach people, with the stats.
Yeah, I mean, now that you've launched and you have these stats now, what's the next step now to moving forward? You've launched, you've encouraged people to promote UReport, and the influencers are now getting on board. So what's the next step?
So the next step for us is building out those polls. So currently we're sort of doing a scout. So on Saturday, when we sort of launch with our young leaders, we ask them through our sort of vision board to highlight specific issues that they would want addressed in the polls, because it has to be relevant to young people, the issues that we tackle. Additionally, we're doing some polls on our social media to kind of get those issues. And a number of organizations have also reached out and said that they're interested in collaborating on building polls. So that's our next step, really building out the poll, pinpointing issues, and then the next step would be disseminating those polls and getting young people to respond to them.
Okay. I mean, it just came into my mind as well after you both were just speaking just now, but I'm sorry if you guys were watching and I didn't say, but what are your roles within UReport, because there's this whole steering committee, but what do you each do per se?
So I'm the project coordinator. So my responsibility is just the oversight of the entire project. And Terrell, along with the other 10 steering committee members, we sort of divide our responsibilities into a number of areas. So for example, we work on partnerships and engagement. We work on communication and outreach. And we work on research, so researching the topics for the polls and so on. And then it's about the technical aspects, the back end of UReport, like actually building out those polls on the platform and uploading them onto the website. So those sort of technical aspects. So there are a lot of things sort of that happen behind the scenes, and all of us sort of contribute to getting the work done.
Yeah. And I mean, there's a lot that you have to probably go forward and know to do. And this is all of y'all. Y'all are all around, if I may ask. How old are you both?
I'm 20 years old.
Okay. See, I did not think you were younger than me, but yeah. And
Can you take a guess?
if he's 20.
I like people to guess my age. You should pop a question in the podcast now so people respond.
Well, I guess you guys can, take a guess right now. You could pause the video or pause if you're listening right now and actually guess down below and see. But with me, you'll find out in a few seconds. But I'm going to probably go and say if he's 20.
Do I look older than him? Do I look younger?
No, you don't. That's the thing. You don't.
Don't go off of my height.
Well, can I ask how much years is between you and your brother? Because then I could tell.
5.
5?
Yeah.
Older? He's older?
No.
Oh, so you're...
Terrell's friend. He's at university.
Oh, wow. Oh, and she's overseeing you in a sense. Oh, okay. So, I mean, was that a challenge, I guess?
No, definitely not. Farhana, she actually knows her team very well. I realized that from day one when she was delegating tasks. She knows who's good at what, and she puts you in that area, and it never fails. It never fails.
Okay. So, I mean, I don't know. I think you guys can do the math. I dropped math in 6th form. So
I am 26 years old.
Yes. But yeah, I mean, wow. I would not have thought so. I would have actually guessed and said 21, 22, actually.
I'm happy.
Okay.
I'm happy for that. Thank you.
But I guess aside from all of that, from UReport and all of that, you guys are now you're setting the standard for the rest of us. And I mean, if I didn't necessarily, if Rhonda hadn't come to me and asked me to do that, I probably would not have figured it out as fast as possible. And I think that's something that is really important because, especially in Barbados, there's the whole thing that's going on this year with COVID, and there's the Black Lives Matter and whatever it is. But there's our own Barbadian challenges, especially. I mean, there's the whole thing with Lord Nelson as well. Like, that happened just now, and I mean, I don't know if you guys attended that.
Farhana did.
You did? Okay. Well, I mean, how was that for you? I mean, what was your opinion on the whole thing?
I was definitely protesting to have him removed. I think this is one of the topics I'm super passionate about, and I think that it would be great for us to talk about this on UReport, is that at secondary school, I felt that I did not know my history. I felt we went to school, we learned about the French, we learned about the Portuguese, we learned about the Spanish, and we did not cultivate that love and appreciation for the legacy that, our ancestors left us, African, Indian, indigenous people, and so on. So it was only when I came to UE and I started to do history here as electives that I realized, you know what, we ain't as woke as we think that we are. And it's about time that young people learn who we really are. And so I think the Black Lives Matter movement and the protests coming here, persons saw it as just the removal of Nelson, and I think it's so much deeper than that. And that's one step of many, many, many more steps to come. And just having those discussions around the removal of Nelson itself sparked persons to go and look deeper at their own history and who we are as a people. So I was definitely pro taking Nelson down. I mean, I would have probably taken it down other ways, but I mean, it is what it is.
Okay. We won't get into we won't get you into any trouble or anything like that. But I mean, if you had your own opinions on it, you can get into it.
I actually didn't attend the removal. I passed by and I saw them drilling and what's not. But I was busy. I was really busy with jail duties. over the summer when everyone was protesting. But had they called me and told me they were taking him down a different way, I would have made time. I would have made time.
Put those muscles to use, Terrell.
I would have made some time for sure.
I won't get into any of the actual ways that you guys would have actually want to take it down. I saw the protests that were going on ever since that was like going on when George Floyd, and that was months and months ago. So a lot of leaders saw, but I mean, look at the time it took to get that done. I think that's something that a lot of us young people, I guess, have. No, I won't say a problem, but we have. I mean, we all know. I think we know that we have a shorter attention span, so we read stuff, and it's like you read it, you get to the point, you move. So that's how the world is with social media, especially. You have to get to the point as quick as possible, and move forward. So, like, how are you two using your report and targeting the leaders? How are you gonna hit that point and do it in such a short space of time to break down that time that it was taken from protesting to taking down? How do you cut down that gap to be a lot shorter?
I think this is where partnerships become really vital, and the fact that in Barbados, UReport is being implemented in collaboration between UNICEF and the Ministry of Youth, and then by extension, civil society and community organizations, means that we have a number of stakeholders that are invested in doing work in different ways. So it's like we can advocate on multiple levels, at a community level, at a government level, a development agency level. So I mean, that's the uniqueness of UReport. It's not another organization, it's just a tool for everyone who's already doing work to come together and be more strategic in how we come together. As I said before, like we work in silos. Had I not met Terrell, I probably wouldn't have known the work that he was doing. But there's so many opportunities for collaboration in that work. So having UReport means that we then funnel our energies into very specific and tangible acts of government or of other partners that say this is statistically this is the majority of young people want this, so let's see how we can make this happen, instead of just individuals speaking out throughout.
Yes, I do think that Farhana covered all bases definitely, and partnerships is very important. We had, as Farhana said, 80 youth organizations on board. That's as much as you want. I mean, everybody is taking a holistic approach to this UReport, and the minister again has a deep love for it. He's keeping it very close. So I don't suspect that change will take very long to come about. I don't suspect that as soon as you're unhappy, if you're satisfied, he'll do more of it. If you're unhappy, we do less of it. We intervene. So I really think that this is going to work, and we're attacking the heads.
Yeah. Well, I hope it does work. I do wish you all the best, and I will definitely be supporting and following. So I hope to see
And you'll become a UReporter.
yeah, I will be. Yeah.
Become a UReporter.
Yeah, I mean, yes, do that. Go and follow them on Instagram as well. I mean, all the links will be in the description at the end of the video. It will be in the description for the guys that are listening to it as well. But moving on swiftly, because I mean, it seems that you guys are quite busy people. I mean, you have a lot of things to do in terms of dealing with these leaders and cutting down heads. But it's Friday, but that's true. You're right. You're very right. I mean, especially. I mean, if you're going to school here, I mean, you don't really have much break right now. I mean, this study.
He lives here. He has time.
This is study week, and then next week, bang on straight into exams, and you gotta go. And I mean, how is that going? I guess for you, I guess.
A lot of people don't know, but my major is social work. So our final year, which I am in right now, is actually an attachment / internship. I use the word attachment because we don't get paid. We just go and get as much knowledge as possible. And the skill set, I'm at the Royal Barbados Police Force Family Conflict Intervention Unit. So mainly working with battered women, victims of abuse and what's not. It's pretty taxing on the mind, but I love it. I love putting my skills to use and gaining all the knowledge that I can. And it's actually making me a lot more mature and keeping things a lot more confidential. So you don't see me as loud as before.
I mean, that's what he does. What do you do, Farhana?
So me, I am a consultant. I work in the area of gender and communications. So yeah, that's my work.
I mean, you seem as I mean, you said it's Friday, but you still seem that you have a lot to do. But I mean, you just said, and something just came quickly to my mind just now. You said about knowledge. How important do you think that is for us youth? I mean, that was a broad topic that was like tweeted, put on Instagram, everything, especially around the Black Lives Matter thing, about how we can really know about our history, and that's what you touched on a bit earlier, with the fact that we don't really learn that. And I had that in a previous episode where I talked to a Harrison College teacher, and he was saying, and I was basically asking him how we can change that. So how valuable is knowledge, do you both think? And how can UReport help with that to make people more aware and inform more people? I mean, that is how you would go about it in terms of finding the different topics and then showing it about. But how can you, how valuable is it, and how can you move forward?
So knowledge is very valuable, and I think that UReport has a really important role to play. Actually, last month in Brazil, I believe it was Black History Month, and UReport Brazil did a poll around education and Black history, and young people were able to respond and say what they wanted to see. So perhaps, it's a case where we develop a poll, around that, and hear what young people say. It's not, at the end of the day, it's not about what I think alone or what Terrell thinks alone. It's about what we collectively think and what we collectively want. So we will work to get that out of UReport. And then based on what you say, we will advocate and make sure that it happens, what young people want happens.
Yeah, most definitely. And as Farhana touched the point about advocacy, I think that we need to remember that advocacy is about being a voice for the voiceless. So we do have brothers and sisters in GIS and what's not without a voice, and we need to be their voice as well. So when we talk about knowledge, it certainly stops you from sounding ignorant. And I think it's very important. And I won't go into the history, but something as simple as recently we've had a young lady running away from GIS. All right. Most young ladies in government industrial school, they're there for something called wandering. Wandering is when you run away from home, but people don't know where you're running from. They don't care. You could be running away from a stepfather abusing you, a parent abusing you sexually. It doesn't matter. But when you basically lock someone up for wandering, and they say deviation. When you deviate from something bad, it's a good thing. So when you lock someone up for doing what's best for them, I think that they definitely need a voice. I've heard rumors of the legislation being changed very soon, but that definitely needs to change. So I think that knowledge again is very important, and we need to know the background to these things rather than saying the young lady gone by a man or something. So knowledge.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is definitely key and very important. I mean, just as what people always say, education is most important. So that's something that we should be very, very focused on, especially as youth. I don't want to keep you guys for too long, much longer, but so if you do have anything that you want to add or promote anything, now's the chance to do that.
Just follow UReport on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at UReport Barbados. Like our pages, follow our posts. In the coming weeks, we'll be sharing more details on how you can actually become a UReporter, and also we'll be starting to send out polls. So just become involved and reach out to us. We're very responsive.
Yeah, I think that Farhana covered it all. Just follow UReport Barbados as soon as possible.
Well, guys, I mean, that is basically everything for this episode. I mean, thank you guys for coming on and explaining a lot more and well, a lot more aware about what's going to be going on and how we as youth can move forward and make a change in Barbados, because I think that's something that you see a lot of people, a lot of the youth tend to want to run away from Barbados, but you guys are already staying here and sticking to, I want to make a change. So that's something that's really, really good, and that's a good initiative. So thank you guys again for coming on to Wuh Yuh Say Podcast.
Thank you for having
Thanks
us.
a lot.
It was a pleasure. And if there are any other events, I mean, guys, as I said, go and check out UReport on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, right? The links will be in the description down below. And I will see you guys for yet another Wuh Yuh Say Podcast.